So day two of the Boxing Day Test match. If you are an Indian fan, you would be very happy today. क्योंकि आज I think one of the best days for India in away Test matches in the last 3 4 years. We've had better days, some of the better days, but this is a day which basically comes in the face of adversity. Because one, obviously, the team was depleted. Number one. Number two, there was a shocker of an innings that we had in Adelaide, the previous Test match. And I think a combination of these two, when your best batsman, your captain is out, you don't have your premier fast bowlers. So one first to get Australia out, but even after that, there was a little bit of a, an element of doubt, uh, and primarily because of what happened in Adelaide, and also because of the quality of the Australian fast bowling, overall bowling attack. Is that there was a fear that either we might not be able to take good advantage, or we might actually concede advantage to Australia. It is very easy to sort of get bundled out for 150. When the day started today, uh, conditions were not exactly in favor of batting. It was a cloudy day, lights were on. There is a tendency of for the red ball to sort of move a little bit more under the lights as compared to otherwise. So what typically uh, MCG day two is the best day to bat, but I don't think that today was the best day to bat because one, the outfield was also slow, and till the 78th, 79th over, there was swing in the air. So Cameron Green, he was also able to swing the ball quite prodigiously till the point Australia took this second new ball. So overall, a very very tough day. And mind you, all the three fast bowlers of Australia, all of them, even Cameron Green, he bowls 140 plus. So it is not easy to be facing bowlers like that. And all of them, Mitchell Stark, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood. Today, Josh Hazelwood's pace was down, but generally they bowl upward of 144, 145. So overall, a great day for India because now India, I think, has an 80-run lead. And so let's just quickly go over the day and see what happened today, which really turned the tide in favor of India. So number one, I think yesterday we spoke about Rahane, the captain, while India was bowling. But today, and I did make a statement that while there is not much that I can talk about Rahane, the batsman, but Rahane, the captain, really came into his own. And I think today, Rahane, the batsman, he came into his own. I don't know whether it is the captaincy or it is the additional responsibility that really brings the best out of Ajinkya Rahane. But whatever it was, I think one, it was an innings under supreme pressure because obviously India had to rest the advantage after bowling out Australia so cheaply. Number two, when Ajinkya Rahane walked in, the situation was not very rosy for India because suddenly Pat Cummins had taken out Shubman Gill and Cheteshwar Pujara, and in very quick succession. And generally, Indians have a tendency to kind of lose wickets in bundles. And at that point of time, along with Hanuma Vihari, it was quite critical that uh, not only some runs are put together, but also quite a few number of balls are played out. Because you might score 50 runs in 7 overs, but after 7 overs, if you concede a wicket, I think it really gives a spring to the opposition bowler. So what Hanuma Vihari and uh, Ajinkya Rahane were able to do, I think, is that they were between them they were really able to play out about 100 and about 20 odd overs while they scored only 50 52 runs or 55 runs, but they were able to play out 20 overs. Now what happens is that the previous wicket, it had fallen 20 overs ago, and I don't think that if Hanuma Vihari did not try that stupid sweep shot of Nathan Lyon, that partnership could have blossomed, and Hanuma Vihari could have gone on to at least score a 50 or a far more substantial score than what he did. Anyway, coming back to Rahane, so I thought today Rahane's batting was the key difference, and not just with Vihari. So for me, that partnership was the most critical. After that, what had happened is that when the bowlers they bowl 20 overs, 25 overs, there's a little bit of a tiredness that sets in, etc., etc. It basically allowed Rishabh Pant to come in and score those fluid 29, 30 runs that he did in 40 balls. What that did is that suddenly, there were easy runs that India scored. Not easy in that sense, but because Rishabh Pant is that kind of a player who will make it look like batting is easier. Because he obviously, either he will get out or he will give you quick runs. So even though the runs were 30, but they came in at a good pace. And I thought that that brief period with Rishabh Pant and Ajinkya Rahane, that was the inflection point. So the previous period with uh, Hanuma Vihari was a consolidation, repairing the damage. The period that Ajinkya Rahane spent with Rishabh Pant was kind of turning the momentum back in India's favor. And then obviously with Ravindra Jadeja, I thought that both Jadeja and Ajinkya Rahane, they batted with a lot of maturity, especially Jadeja, because not for once did I see that even after, say, India had a 50-run lead, or there were 3 or 4 overs to be played out after for the before the next new ball was available. I did not see Jadeja trying to slog and get a few quick runs under the belt, which means that both obviously Rahane is an established batsman, which also means that Jadeja was equally confident of handling the new ball, which is why he was in no hurry because there is a lot of time in the test match. We just are at day two. So net, you know, across these three players, Hanuma Vihari, Rishabh Pant, and unbeaten Ravindra Jadeja, the common thread was Ajinkya Rahane. So that was brilliant. And obviously, he scored an unbeaten century. And a century of this nature is basically worth a double century. You score a double century on a Pata wicket in India or anywhere else. Obviously, credit has to be given for keeping your concentration, etc. But I thought the kind of attack that he was facing today, the bowling conditions which there were, the sort of hangover of the previous test match which was there, added pressure of captaincy, and then the situation that he worked into, it was not a very friendly situation for India. From 63 for 3, India could have slipped to suddenly 75 for 5, and then it was game over for India. It was all catch up. So I thought through this context, okay, through the overall context of the series, and also through the match context, what was really happening in the match at that point of time, Ajinkya Rahane played a wonderful innings. So that was the psychological or the mindset part of it. Now let's come on to why he was able to play out so much better, even when conditions were in favor of bowling and things like that. So I think, see, one till the previous innings in Adelaide, what Ajinkya Rahane was doing is that he was trying to play very close to the body. And I've seen that off late, this is the Cheteshwar Pujara style of defensing, is that you play as close to your body as possible. But Cheteshwar Pujara has a minimal footwork, like his front foot does not really move forward, or he doesn't really get too much on the back foot either. And I've seen that a lot of Indian batsmen, while trying to be defensive in their play, especially abroad, they're sticking to this technique. And see, it works for Cheteshwar Pujara, but sometimes it may or may not work for other batsmen. And if you look at Adelaide, most of the batsmen, including Ajinkya Rahane, they were crease bound. So Ajinkya Rahane generally, if you look at Ajinkya Rahane's batting from the previous years, you will remember that he had a solid front foot stride while he was defending balls, right? What it does is that it kills that little bit of a deviation that a bowler is able to generate off the pitch. And if you're not taking that stride forward, or if you're not very decisive in your forward movement or backward movement for that matter, it allows the ball to deviate a little bit more. And that 1 inch 1 centimeter is basically the difference between whether or not you are getting an edge or not. So I think in this particular inning, he was really committed to come onto the front foot. And I saw it that in his defense, even Shubman Gill for that matter, I saw that while he was trying to defend some of the Goodland deliveries of Hazelwood, etc., He was really, really well committed. He was covering the line of the ball and then he was trying to bring his bat as close to the front pad as possible. And I saw a similar bit of a technique, followed even by Ajinkya Rahane. When he wanted to be forward, he was really forward, and hence he was meeting the ball a lot earlier uh, as compared to the previous match. But while doing so, he was not lunging at the ball. He was not defending in the way that Ricky Ponting would do against Harbhajan Singh in the 2001 series, or Mayank Agarwal, like or even for example Prithvi Shaw. So they were caught on the go. Their front foot was still mobile, when they would meet the ball. So while the front foot has to be decisively forward, the bat has to be very, very close to the body, so that you're still playing very close to the body. It is not that your front foot is forward and then your bat is further away from your body, and what it does is that it makes you fall over, and then you basically chase the ball off the deviation with your hands and then you end up edging. So that was the difference for me, is his front foot play was very, very decisive today, because of which he was able to defend a lot better. His defensive technique was better, and I think it gave him a lot of assurance to not play a few shots in a hurry. And I think later in the inning, when his eye was set, he played a couple of lovely straight off drives of Pat Cummins, only and only because he was able to plant his front foot forward, and he was so decisive in his footwork. So I think that was the key difference for me, obviously, apart from the mindset and sort of resilience that it takes. Now let's come to Rishabh Pant, Jadeja, and Ashwin. Yesterday also I spoke about that these three together, they need to give 100 runs to India. If they are able to do that, I think India will be in a safe position. We already got about 70 runs. Jadeja is 40 not out, and Pant has scored about 29, 30. And I think that is the power. I thought Pant had a really sort of a soft dismissal, and it happens. The kind of player Rishabh Pant is, he could have gone on to score a century, and he got out, and which is okay. But he really did change the momentum of how runs were being scored by India. With Jadeja, I thought Jadeja has played about 100 balls, so he has tired bowlers out. And I thought Jadeja looked absolutely sure in his defense. So I did not basically see Ravindra Jadeja getting beaten by any bowler for that matter. So he was playing very close to his body. He played the kind of shots that he's comfortable playing. So there is an angled chop, through point that he plays very well. And he played only two balls which were not bouncing so much, or which were short enough for him to get on top of the bounce. So that was the shot he played. He did not play any cover drives for that matter. He was very restrained there. And then he played that classic lefties flick onto the leg side. So he played his limited game. He allowed the ball to come to him, and then he played that game. Even against Nathan Lyon, he did not take any extravagant moves. So I thought Jadeja's maturity as a batsman, it has really come up, and the way the Indian team is today, uh, he has made a solid case for this Pant Jadeja Ashwin combination to come into the picture. I I feel that with the wicket keeping spot, because it is such a critical skill in certain countries, uh, especially where the ball swings and where the ball spins a lot. So, for example, in India or in subcontinent, if you're playing on dust bowls, you really need fantastic keepers. So, I thought for India and England and New Zealand, where the ball swings a lot, and the chances of a keeping error might be higher. Uh, uh, India should play Ridhiman Saha, because their wicket keeping becomes a critical skill. And for other countries and pitches, they should play Rishabh Pant, is what I feel. I may be right or I may be wrong, I don't know. But I thought this combination is working well, and if India are able to push through and score another 50 runs tomorrow, then if you are able to get to a lead of 150 or something like that, let's say Ajinkya Rahane is able to stitch another 100 runs, and mind you, India still has 5 wickets in the pocket. So with 5 wickets, if we score another 100, it is going to be a big ask for Australia. It's really going to be a tall ask for them to come in and then survive well. And mind you, because we are batting last, we cannot really afford to have a really tall target for us as well. Any target in the vicinity of 150 or 150 plus, it's not good for India, because Indians have not been good chasers in the fourth innings of a test match, off late especially. So that was about the Pant, Jaddu, and Ashwin combination, which I thought worked really well for India in this particular test match. Uh, while I thought Australia bowled beautifully this entire day, but their catching, I thought it was their catching which really let them down. Steve Smith has dropped catches. Labuschagne has dropped catches. I think the slip cordon has been as butterfingered as they could possibly be. Reminds me of the Indian slip cordon from 3 4 years ago, where people were just dropping catches for fun. So I think that's one area that Australia needs to be in command of, and I think that somehow the batting fragility of Australia is also eating into the confidence when it comes to their fielding. So I think they will really need to fix up the batting, and that confidence will then transpire into the other elements of the game. And I just, last but not the least, yesterday I also spoke about Pat Cummins, and today seeing him bowl and stuff, I thought it was amazing. The kind of deliveries that Pat Cummins has bowled, the sort of uh, accuracy, the pace that he's maintained, the fitness levels that he's had. First spill, second spill, third spill, it doesn't matter. Old ball, new ball, his control is phenomenal. He makes the ball talk. His deviations are minimal, which also means that the batsmen actually play a lot of balls, and therefore the tendency to get out is far higher. So I thought, just once again, just not. I know that he got 2 wickets today. He could have gotten more. But just if you wish to enjoy good quality fast bowling, uh, Pat Cummins right now is the bowler to go and see. I was also watching the match between South Africa and Sri Lanka the other day. It was a green pitch. It was a terrific pitch to bowl in. And I thought bowlers from both the sides, they were just spraying the ball all around. Sri Lanka was able to score 396 in about a day and 15 odd overs, which is pretty fast, 4 runs per over. And even when Sri Lankan seamers came into ball, they were not disciplined enough. So I think one needs to look at the bowling that Pat Cummins is doing right now. His ability to extract the maximum out of any pitch which is thrown to him, it's absolutely incredible, especially in the test arena. The good length, the fuller length, the short of good length, and he has a very cunning short ball as well that he uses sparingly, but he uses it really well. So if you wish to see high quality fast bowling, uh, get onto your TV sets tomorrow and then do watch Pat Cummins in action. So that will be from my side for today. We'll see you tomorrow after the test match. And as an Indian fan, let's just hope that India piles on to the misery of Australia, and they should really drive home the point by adding at least another 100, if possible, 150 runs tomorrow, and that will really shut the door on Australia. See you tomorrow.